Alrighty, welcome to episode 2 of the Sub podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and thanks to everyone that watched the first episode as well with Scullivan. That looked like it went really well, and lots of good feedback. So thank you to everyone. On this episode, I have a good friend of mine, Chris, aka Manikin. We've kind of known each other for a long time. We've worked on some stuff together. We made a song and put that out last year called Firepower. Which went really well. We played a lot of sets together, and it was really cool just to get him in the studio and chat about everything Manikin and music. He's a great artist and someone that I look up to, and so it was really cool to just pick his brain for a while and chat about some good deep topics. We got to speak about the success, managing success and I guess trying to achieve success, and what does it look like to us and in the music industry, and balancing your life between music and production and DJing and partners and all that kind of stuff. So there was some good topics in there, and I'm really happy with how it went, and I hope that you guys enjoy it and you can kind of get something out of it, and hopefully learn from it. It was really cool. I guess before we get the episode started, just some things. We have lately we released our VA EP on Sub Era called the Dub Era Volume 1, which is a EP full of just 140 releases. So go and check that out. It's got some sick tracks on there from myself, from Density, Burning Bush, K Mully, Flash Call, and Impulsive. So really cool tracks on there. We've had some really good feedback. If you haven't heard it, go ahead and look it up, or there'll probably be a link in the description below. That's our latest one, and we got some more music on the way, so stay tuned, and obviously some more episodes on this podcast that will be on the way. So like and subscribe to stay connected with us, and other than that, enjoy the episode.
Yakuza.
Sweet.
Let's begin.
Yeah, nice one.
No, cheers for coming down.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, appreciate it.
I'm keen, dude. I was very keen to talk to you. You're high on the list of who I wanted to kind of chat with. Regard your music high up in Perth. I think one of the best in Perth.
That's very kind.
In terms of drum and bass, so I love it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Oh, well, good, man. So keen to see where you kind of go with it and stuff. I saw you on the weekend last week.
Yep.
And just an update. I was there and then I disappeared.
You did disappear.
I disappeared.
Yeah.
And the reason why I was drinking a beer from the a pint, and I finished it. I came and I had a glass of water. I was standing next to you and Nick, and then Nick came over and he was like, "Yeah, hold this camera."
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, and then I just started feeling shit.
Oh, really?
I immediately just started feeling really sick. So I was like, I'm gonna give you the camera. I'm gonna go to the toilet. Fucking threw up.
Did you?
In the toilet? And I was like, I need to get home because I was not feeling well. I don't know what happened.
Because I remember that. Yeah, we're standing at the bar and he was like handing it to you, and I was like, I really hope he doesn't hand it to me because I don't want to. Because I also knew that I was probably not going to hang around for too much longer.
Yeah, I was trying to hang.
Shit.
Yeah, I was trying to hang around for I was thinking of hanging around for at least wing set.
Yeah.
And then leaving. But
was that pre-Wings?
Yeah, it was just as he came on. I think I was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
I don't know
he
what
played
happened.
super well. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So I didn't catch that, and I went home, struggling, just I gotta get home. And it's a 40-minute drive home. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
And dude, I was sick for about 4 days, with gastro and stuff, just out of it.
Maybe a dirty glass or something.
I don't know. That's what, because no one else that I knew was sick, or my wife or anything. And when it hits you, it hits you. Yeah.
It
was as soon as I finished the drink, and I was like, what is going on? You know, so
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, maybe there was something dodgy about the beer, or I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's unlucky. But
Yeah.
it was so bizarre. Like because we were just standing around. I think
Yeah.
maybe I was standing talking to you, and that guy came over and handed me that glass, that
Yeah.
water.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, "Oh, do you want this soda
Was
water?"
it water or?
It was soda water.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." And then instantly was like, "I'm putting this down. I'm not touching
Yeah.
this. Who knows what's in this drink?"
You can't
Like,
trust anyone.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was giving you like a vodka soda or some shit. And
No,
was
I mean,
like,
I didn't know who it was.
No, I didn't know either. But
So I was like,
just,
I'm not drinking this.
I was just like, why are you giving away free drinks?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was like a
No,
water.
it was just it was just a soda water in lime. It was
Yeah.
very kind of him, but I also
Yeah.
was like, no, I'm not going to drink this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Yeah, you can't trust that. Like,
Nah.
unless you know them. I've been I guess you could say spiked, but by someone I knew. So.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, but like
You're
it was
being boring. I'm going to spike your drink and see what happens.
Yeah. It was. It wasn't like, I don't know. It wasn't as a normal kind of spike, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. But I was at a party, and it was back in South Africa when I was younger, and I went to like this rave kind of thing,
Yeah.
and this dude, that I used to smoke a bit of weed with like
Yeah.
back in the day,
Yeah.
and I hadn't seen him for like a year, and I was like, yo, what's up? And I caught up, and we're in like the crowd, and he's like, take a sip of this, and I
Yeah.
was like, okay, and I was like, oh, what up, man? Like, took a couple sips. Like a minute later, shit's just like zooming past me and shit, and I'm like, "What the fuck's going on?" And I was tripping balls.
Oh, man.
And I later found out it had like acid and shit in it.
Oh
and
wow. Yeah.
I was fucked.
Yeah, I think like I don't know. I would get so frustrated if someone did that to me. I'm like, I am in charge of my
Yeah.
night. You know,
Yeah.
like I'll take it where I want it to go.
Yeah, that's true, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would also freak me out. I'd go in full
Yeah.
panic mode if someone
I think
did that to me.
I was already drunk, so I was like, I was okay.
Yeah.
So I think it was like it just took over. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like, oh shit, like I've taken
Yeah.
something. I just thought I was drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah. but I'm the same nowadays. Like I get super panicky about like shit.
Yeah.
I took a Zyn. Like,
What is a Zyn?
you know, like they're like little nicotine pouches.
Oh, okay.
So that people to
Oh,
get off
yeah,
of
yeah,
cigarettes.
yeah.
And I've been hearing about it for ages. Like
Like a snus.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Zyn's the new brand, or I
Yeah,
don't fucking
okay.
know. But
Yeah.
I heard about it for a long time, and then I went to a mate's like party or something, and he was like, "This is like months ago."
Yeah,
so it
okay.
wasn't that long.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I've got a Zyn," and we were talking about it. I was like, "Oh, that's so cool!" Like it seemed cool, just because like not cool, but it seemed like. Oh, like what would happen? Like, is it just going to be like
Yeah.
a yummy treat and it gives you a bit of a buzz, you know? But dude, I took and I haven't smoked cigarettes in a long time. I used to when I was younger. But so I took this, and this is just a straight like 10 mil hit of nicotine.
Yeah, and you just put it under your gum.
Yeah.
Is that what? Yeah.
And that shit
Yeah.
gave me so much anxiety.
Oh, man,
Within
yeah.
5 minutes, I was like, "Fuck, I need,
Yeah.
I need to sit down." Like,
Yeah, I've got a few mates that get on snus, and I just don't know how they can do it. It's like
yeah,
it's crazy
it was
intense.
Probably one of the worst fucking experiences.
Yeah, I think they're very big in Scando, like in Scandinavia.
Yeah.
I've got a mate who was in the band
Yeah.
that I'm in.
Yeah.
He was guitarist before he moved to Scando.
Yeah, okay.
And
Nice.
he came back and he had like this tin.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
What the hell is that? And yeah, it's just
It's,
snus.
yeah, it's big in America and stuff, right? Like,
Yeah, not for me.
last year. Yeah.
Not for me.
Yeah,
I
it's-
wouldn't do that.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. I'm never going to try it again. But I had a full panic for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm the same. Like with if I'm drinking or if I'm doing anything, I don't really like to get too out of it. Like or I want to be in control. Like So if it's like something like that where it's like, oh shit, I'm not in control of my heart rate right
Yeah.
now, or I'm not like, it kind of freaks me out a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can appreciate that. Yeah, for sure.
Your band, I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
One of the questions I wanted to ask was, do you want to tell us a bit about the band? Like, so
Yeah.
people that are watching, what are they like called, or what are you guys called? And
Yeah. So in a band called The Others, so we started jamming, like I think 2007, 2008. So the
Yeah,
band's
right.
been kicking around for a
a
little while.
Yeah.
Nearly 20 years, which is crazy.
Were you like in high school or something around then?
I
Or
just left
finished?
high school.
Yeah. Okay.
Would have been, oh no, maybe not just left. I would have been like 18, 19.
Yeah.
And some guys I knew who were older than me at school, who I knew because we went to school, but like I wasn't like super tight with them.
Yeah.
We had some other friends in common and stuff, and yeah, they were starting a band, and this other dude from another high school, Colin, who I also knew but wasn't close with at the time. They approached me like, "Oh, do you want to play drums?" And I was already playing drums in this other band, this like high school band I was in, like, you know, wasn't like a serious band. And then, yeah, they asked me to drum. So Mark came over to my house, and we were in this small music room where my parents used to live. Drums, like, it's like the room was tiny, and it had a piano, all my dad's guitars, like his amps, and my drums crammed in the corner, and a built-in wardrobe that was full of my dad's wine. And all of his CDs and stuff. This room was so... Anyway, Mark came in, played some tunes by a band, Cruel Hand. And at the time, I hadn't really heard Cruel Hand, but they're one of my favourite bands.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Yeah, played, and they're like, that was sick, you're in. And then we just started jamming, wrote a demo, released that, played heaps of shows. Still kicking around, still doing stuff.
Nice.
We were supposed to play in Brisbane the other week with some awesome bands like Basement and Drain. We were supposed to play in the Sunshine Coast and Brisbane, but then it got rained out with the tropical cyclone Alfred.
Shit.
So that was annoying. But
You've done a bit of travelling with the band before, though, hey?
Like, we've done the Australian tour and flown over east a lot,
man.
Which is super fun. I'm definitely probably getting a little bit beyond wanting to sleep on random floors. Because one of the things is like you just, you know, like you're not making tons of money. Especially if you're the support band.
Yeah.
Even if we're doing a headline tour, it's just a good way. Like, but also it's just a great way to like meet
people,
crew. Like in every town, you're going and staying at someone else's house, and you're meeting them. And then when you go back next time, you've then got that stronger connection and everything, which is sick.
That's true. Yeah.
So got to travel a lot.
That's awesome.
To meet people. Play with some sick bands. The one we did 2 years ago, we did a tour with these two bands from the US called Candy and Akulu, and like some of those shows just went ballistic, like super fun.
Damn, that's sick, man.
The style of music is like hardcore. So it's like, you know, it's not Parkway Drive, like they're way more on the metalcore side, but it's like heavier than like, you know, like punk rock stuff. It's like that middle spectrum. It's a pretty
cool. I'll have to check it out. You guys have stuff like online?
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff.
Okay. I'll have to.
But we're kind of preparing, hopefully, to write some new music. Just depends between when you can find the time. It's all about time.
Yeah, well, that was what I was curious about. Like, and I asked you on the weekend as well. I was like, how the hell do you do that? Because it's hard. Like, you know, when you get older and you got life and you got a wife and you got a house and you work and all that.
Well, you have to have a very understanding wife. Michelle is very understanding, and she is great at pushing me to continue doing extracurricular stuff like the band and Manikin and exercise and just all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, that's good, man. Because she does art as well. Hey, yeah. So you guys are pretty artistic.
It is very artistic, and which is cool because we can bounce ideas off each other. And she like will show me stuff. Not that I have any ability to like, you know, like sometimes she'll be doing some of her drawings, and to get a sense of the scale, like. So her artist name is MK Tix, and one of the things that she does a lot of is like very small pencil, like kind of etching stuff. And like, so she'll be doing stuff that's on like A1, like as big as some of these soundproofing boards almost, like tiny little singular pencil strokes and stuff to fill out all the colour. And sometimes she'll be like, what colour should I do next? I'm like, no, I don't know.
A lot of time in that.
So she's a very, very creative, not just like a creative in terms of physical art, but also just like a creative thinker and has a very unique way of thinking things. So
cool.
It's cool to have her around, like, very creative household,
nice.
The
That's
music
awesome.
and stuff.
And you kind of grew up in a bit of a creative household as well, because you were telling me your dad does music and shit, right? So, or he was in a band or something?
Yeah, so he was in a band, which probably explains why I got into music and stuff. He was very encouraging of the music.
Awesome.
So he was in a band called the Manikins, which is where I got my name Manikin from.
Awesome.
And I'd sort of used a little bit, or have tried to kind of link back to elements of what they have done
cool.
when they were a band. So I think there's like kind of differing opinions online about the it's like claim to fame, but the Mannequins.
For the name and stuff.
Well,
yeah.
no, so the Mannequins came from a band called the Cheap Nasties. And the Cheap Nasties claim was that they were the first punk band in Perth. I think like
Okay.
it's pretty certain they were the first punk
Right.
band in Perth.
Sick.
And arguable whether them or the Saints were the first punk band in Australia.
Okay. Yeah.
But they've got a song. I think the B side of their first single was called Radio World, which was then what I adopted for
right.
the podcast.
Yeah.
So he was the guitarist, did some vocals. He's an incredible songwriter. He still writes songs. Like he just pumps out stuff all the time.
Nice.
He uses GarageBand
Yeah.
and just records all his own stuff and puts it out still. Now he's more kind of like bluesy country, but
sick.
yeah, was into
Yeah.
punk and so showed me a lot of stuff early on.
Man, that's
Like he got me into the Ramones.
Yeah.
The using he used to tell me how they use like the Kmart guitars and like just like cheap
really?
stuff, but would just like thrash it.
Hectic. Interesting.
Stuff with like I think it's Phil Spector, Wall of Sound, and things like that. And so he got me into the Ramones, and then that kind of led to other punk stuff. And then when you're in high school, like people are listening to bands like Mill and Colin and stuff, so you just get into that.
True. That's pretty cool, man. That sounds like a cool, good way to grow up with, like, around music and stuff. And
Yeah, but like I just remember, like when we do drives like down south, we used to go down south a lot with my grandparents for holidays, and like he'd always be throwing stuff on, so listening also not just punk, but like listening to like things like Elvis Costello, like the Bangles. Used to listen to a lot of Foo Fighters. He'd throw Nirvana at us. Queens of the Stone Age. He was onto the Strokes very early. And I remember him showing us the first Strokes record, and he was like, "These guys are going to be the biggest band in the world." So he was always very on the pulse when it came to new stuff. Had like a Rolling Stone subscription, all those kinds of things.
I was gonna say, like, how old is he? Is he quite young, or is he
He-
just on it, like,
in
terms of music, like?
Oh, I mean, now he's
like Nirvana's quite late. I mean, 90s.
Well, he's in his late 60s now.
Cool.
But like he would have been 30s for probably like late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s, and he was just all over it. Like he's also well connected, got a lot of friends who like one of his very closest friends is this dude, Dave Faulkner, who's the frontman of the Hoodoo Gurus, and he was also in the Cheap Nasties.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then like this other dude, Kim Salmon, who's in a band called The Scientist, or was in a band called The Scientist, who was super famous. I don't know if I'm just
Scientist.
I don't know if I'm
familiar.
imagining this, but I'm fairly certain I've seen a Nirvana poster where Kurt Cobain is wearing a Scientist shirt.
Oh, right.
To give a sense to like them. But,
I feel like I might have heard The Scientist. I could be wrong.
They're a
but
pretty popular and famous older
Yeah.
punk band. Kim
familiar.
Salmon in his own right is a pretty big like famous Australian artist, but
Yeah.
so he's just always been all over it and kind of pumping
Sick.
that into us.
Yeah.
And my sister she doesn't actively play any instruments and stuff, but she's super into her music. My mum's into her music, so it's super
nice.
ingrained in the DNA. Yeah.
Yeah, cool, man. I grew up with like a lot of music as well, but like no one in my family ever played any music.
Yeah.
But my dad was heavy into all kinds of stuff. My dad's quite young. He's only, I don't know, he must be, I'm going to get his age wrong, but he's late 40s or like 50.
Jeez, that's super young.
He's pretty young, yeah.
I do forget that you're much younger than me, though.
Yeah, I turned 30 this year, so
Yeah.
only a couple of years.
Yeah.
But
more than a couple.
he's quite young, and so I guess I kind of grew up with him a lot, but like listening to stuff that he was playing. So there was a lot of like punk stuff, like Nirvana and all that,
Yeah.
and
Sick.
Korn and like metal.
What was big in South Africa when you were in school? What were people listening to?
I don't know. I mean, I think I was listening to everything they weren't listening to.
Yeah, okay.
So all the kids in my school were listening to Neo and like
Yeah.
Lil Wayne and stuff that was coming up in the charts at the time, like
Neo. I was like, what? Neo.
Neo,
Yeah.
and like R&B and pop, like
Not dissimilar to my high school. Like, there was a small group
Just a
of us.
standard.
Like, there was this one bench at recess and lunch, and we'd all go and sit, and people would call it the emo bench.
Okay,
Because
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
all the guys that were listening to bands like Under Oath and Census Fail and Story of the Year and all
Yeah.
like the fringe sweeping bands and
yeah.
Well,
I mean, we had that as well. I mean, I did high school in Australia.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then I did primary school in South Africa.
Got it, yeah.
So I'm thinking primary school, they were listening. So that was like
yeah.
ages ago,
Yeah,
2005,
yeah,
6 or
yeah.
something. And then so back then it was like in South Africa, those are young kids, so they were listening to like poppy shit,
Yeah.
and all that. But I was listening to. My dad was showing me like the Wu-Tang Clan.
Wow.
and like lots of hip hop and
Cool.
and and punk shit. And so my dad is a heavy skater.
Sick.
And he runs.
Do you skate?
I used to. I haven't skated in a while.
Yeah.
But it used to be like my life.
Yeah.
But
I bought a skateboard once.
yeah.
But I don't skate. I think I tried to drop into a bowl once at the Southlands skate park. In Willerton, nice. And like just completely ate just shit.
Fucked it, yeah.
Yeah, and then probably just never skated again.
I've been skateboarding since I was 3.
Oh,
like
sick.
my dad forced me, not brutally, but like it was like you got to.
Yeah, no, my dad's Indian, so it was cricket. It wasn't skating. Yeah, play cricket.
So I've skated like my whole childhood until about 18 or so.
Yeah.
I kind of slowed down, and the biggest thing was when I came to Australia, and I stopped when I came here because I kind of just didn't know anyone that skated, and my dad lives back in he used to live back in South Africa, and I lives in Europe. Yeah. But so when I came here, I didn't have him, and then I didn't have my skate friends, so it was like
fell away a bit.
Yeah, so I just skated by myself, and I was bored, and I'd go to like skate parks and try and meet people, and people would like fuck up. Like I don't know.
All right. Yeah, I mean Australia generally, from what I've found, is like it's a pretty cliquey place.
Yeah.
Like you find the people you're comfortable with, and then
you stay with it. Yeah.
You stay with them, and very rarely do like you really kind of venture out. Which I've always tried to not do. I've tried to be open to meeting new people and having chats and stuff. But I find generally speaking, I always used to find also I'd be like on the outer of things and kind of want to find my way in and just not really figure it out and feel a bit excluded. But like that's it's the nature of.
I think similar, man. And I also found like when I came here, there was a lot of like scooter kids and a lot of BMX and stuff, and not
there's lots of scooter adults now. on bloody pathways and stuff like 60 k's an hour, just like smashing it. Yeah,
true. Actually, side note, I saw a scooter. I was driving the other night, and I saw a guy on a scooter in front of me, like just down the road. Yeah, and his scooter had a fucking indicator on it.
Oh wow!
And he was in there just.
At least he's using it.
Yeah. I just thought it was flipping. It was like a teenager as well, so it was like just the funniest thing.
Yeah, great.
But there was a lot of scooter people and BMXs and stuff, but not a lot of skaters in the places I was going. There obviously are lots in WA, but I just couldn't find them. Yeah. Didn't think about using like Facebook or anything But I just grew out of it. But it was heavily a part of my childhood, like hip hop and punk and skating.
Yeah,
and,
cool.
And that's why I got this little skateboard.
Yeah, nice. That's cool. That's really sick.
Yeah. It's a cool little thing and definitely a part of me. But and I grew up on that stuff, and then I don't know. I kind of took, I guess, a bit of that influence into my electronic journey.
How did you make the transition to electronic music? Because I find it's very different for a lot of people. Some people it's just like you go to the club for the first time, hear a 4/4 house tune, you're like, oh, this is sick. But
I was listening to it when I was about 12. I would get music, the electronic stuff I'd get from my uncle he's only like 4 years older than me, so we'd hang out a lot, and he would have DJ friends and kind of like get music from these people and then pass it along, and so I kind of found a lot of stuff like Prodigy and Netsky and then Deadmau5 and all stuff through that. Yeah. And then I got like pretty hooked on Deadmau5 for a long time, and
Deadmau5 is sick.
Yeah, and
at our wedding, like after the ceremony, you go off and do the photos, and everyone's like starting to like have a cocktail and a beer and get loose. And then when you like the re-entry or whatever you want to call it, and we came into Strobe.
No way.
Yeah,
I did a little 10-minute walk.
Nah, that's the thing. I did like a little edit because that's so good.
Such a good song.
But what I did is because the intro is so long and epic, and I didn't want to cut it. So Josh, Ningaloo Records, guy, is an awesome dude. Shout out Josh. He was DJing our wedding, and I was like, so at this time, just like start playing it and just let it roll. And then at about like when you hear it's about to drop, and then Michelle and I came in, and like Jono, who's
I get you.
Sidetrack, Vecco at Sidetrack, he MC'd.
Oh, cool.
And we told him, I was like, when you hear this part, like just grab the mic and say we're coming in. And it was like,
Sick.
because you know when it drops and it's just like so epic.
Oh, it's great.
I'm smiling now thinking about it.
One of my favorite fucking songs.
Yeah. It's such an epic tune. There isn't actually on drum and bass. There isn't a very not completely unknown, but like under the radar remix of Strobe by Spy and Marky.
Oh, really?
It is dark as shit. It is
Can you find it online or like...
sick. No.
No.
I've never been able to find it online. Like you can buy it, but it's not on like Beatport and
like
stuff.
Bandcamp or something.
Sorry, it's not on Spotify and everything. Not that I can find.
Okay, cool.
Because everyone knows the Dimension one.
Yeah.
But this is elite.
Yeah.
It's like
okay, I need to find
2010s kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Real cool. Like definitely worth looking up.
Yeah, I need to find that. Strobe is one of my favorite. I think that was the song that hooked me. Yeah. And I was like, I like this house electronic stuff.
And I think the beautiful thing about Deadmau5's music, whatever you think about Deadmau5, but like the thing about his music is like, especially that earlier stuff, the kind of like late 2000s, 2010, and the early 2010s, it's real simplistic. And it's just built around like melody and variations in like volume and energy and stuff like that. But like, there's no crazy bass design and stuff. Like, it's all really simple.
Very simple.
But it sounds so complex, but just so complete as well.
I just really like his, even to this day, like his use of, like he uses very unique chords. Yeah. Very unique like chord progressions and tones and like the tuning, everything, and it just creates this weird like wide kind of sound on everything, and it's like it was very different at the time. Yeah.
Like I remember someone showing me his tune Faxing Berlin.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, man, this is just like unreal. Like yeah, really cool. So yeah, I can share that sentiment of Deadmau5 being one of the early artists to get into. Yeah.
I love his stuff, man, and and his stuff is like very. Cause I was listening to stuff just the other day. Actually, it's right there.
Nice.
His stuff is very like. It was interesting to me because it was like emotional electronic stuff, you know, like it was electronic, progressive, and like building you up, having a bit of energy, but it was like deep chords and stuff.
That's what I mean. It really evokes quite a lot of emotion when you listen to it, but also it's just like the variation in energy. Yeah. Because it'll often be like, I mean, as a lot of house music is, like, you know, he'll have a loop, but some of his early songs go for like, as we're saying, like 10 minutes long, but you don't get bored. You just somehow stay engaged and just pure, like just real simple things like using like an LFO tool or using a filter just to like change the vibe with the same bloody drum.
Exactly.
That's that quintessential Deadmau5 kick and clap just going the whole time, and it just still, you're like, I'm not bored of this.
Yeah, he's too good at it, man. And I think that style helped me develop a bit of that minimal drum and bass style, because listening to an 8-minute song and still being entertained, I used to think like, you know, told myself about like, man, people are so entertained by this pop stuff and hip hop, and then I'd show them Deadmau5 and they'd be like, this is so boring for so long. And then, you know, some people would enjoy it as well, obviously, but they just didn't understand that the kind of, I guess, the journey went on. But it was interesting to me that he could keep people entertained for 8 minutes with such a simple track.
Yeah, and also the fact that like you can then go and watch Deadmau5 do a DJ set. Yeah, and like you've got all these people who will try and squeeze as many songs as possible into a 60-minute DJ set. He'll play like 12. Yeah. Like I swear, like one of his I think like a 2007 Essential mix, I'm almost certain there's maybe like 15 or 16 songs played. Because he'll just like play the song and then he'll play it out like 6 minutes, and then he'll start mixing in the next one because the next song's got a 3-minute intro. So like it's just it's just great.
But it's a great mix, you know. Like,
it's a great mix. Yeah.
He kills it. And he's still killing it. Yeah, his new stuff with Cascade as well. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't heard any new stuff, but like Cascade Deadmau5, I remember, is probably one of the best tunes of all time. Yeah. And the J Magic remix of that's a drum and bass remix also to hear. That is elite. J Magic, I think there's a Casper remix of that too for dubstep.
Yeah, probably. there's a lot of Casper remixes out there.
Oh, Casper's.
Casper
Oh,
was
killer.
one of the things I like. Casper, Rusco,
Yeah.
all that stuff back in the day,
Yeah.
2008, 10
Yeah.
era. That was
Benga.
Benga.
Scream. Magnetic Man record. Have you heard Magnetic Man?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, man. Scream and Benga. Magnetic Man.
okay, I might have
Did a lot
heard
of tunes with KDB.
Yeah,
Oh, that
I
they've
might,
got
I
a
might
rec-
have heard it.
You've got to listen to the Magnetic Man
I'll
record.
look it
That
up
is
just to-
unreal. That's elite.
yeah. Because
Elite.
no, I've listened to a lot of Scream and Benga, but
Yeah.
I don't know all the names. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I was gonna say like one of the things that I got into when I was younger was that stuff.
Yeah.
Through my uncle and
Yeah.
and I get past these deep dubstep tracks and I
Sick.
didn't know what it was at the time, so I
Yeah.
was just like, this is cool. So
Yeah.
I didn't know like, I think all I had was like a name, like Roscoe.
Yeah.
And that. And then I'd like try using Google, but like Google couldn't find him at the time because
Yeah.
it was so long ago.
Yeah.
So there was no way for me to find out like what is this stuff.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
You know, so all my going back to like the beginning of the question was like, how did I get into it? Like
Yeah.
trying to like, I think it just came from being curious and exploring shit and you know, and listening to like Roscoe and listening to Deadmau5 and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I'd be like, what else is there? There's got to be
Yeah.
other shit out there.
Yeah.
Um,
But it was harder to find back then.
super
to
hard.
find other stuff.
A lot of it I couldn't find. I just had to get it given to me.
Yeah.
So,
Or you hear it at a show and then you
Yeah.
ask someone like who made that
yeah,
tune.
yeah,
But that's why also it's a bit different now because you kind of know a lot of people and you know and by people I mean artists, but
Yep.
like festival lineups. So like back in the day, if I went to a festival, there would probably be 60% of the artists I'd never heard of before.
Yeah.
And then you watch them and you're like, wow, like
Yeah.
that was sick. They played heaps of
True.
cool tunes. I'm gonna go listen to them when I get home.
yeah,
And same with bands, like going to, you know, like a Soundwave or a Big Day Out or something, and like you'd see a bunch of bands you never heard of because like back then you weren't
Yeah.
flicking through the records at 78 Records or whatever, which is the one that used to be in town. Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't know about them, and it was hard to find stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
at
a
least
way
I
to,
just
like-
didn't know where to look.
yeah. Yeah, that was a way
yeah.
to find new
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing though that you're saying that like festivals, going to a festival where you don't know half the lineup.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine that being the case these days
No.
because people be like, I don't know any of these fucking artists. I'm not
But
going
I
to
think
pay
also it would be so easy now if you went and looked at a lineup and you were
to
like,
go find them.
yeah, to be like,
Yeah.
oh, who's that? And you look it
Yeah.
up and you can listen to their Spotify in
for sure.
5 minutes and be like, oh yeah, I like it or I don't. Whereas
Yeah.
back then it might take a little bit to have to go and listen to the record at a record shop or find someone who's got a mixtape or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, because back in the day when those festivals were out, they were huge,
Yeah.
massive crowds, and probably a lot of people didn't know who half the artists were.
Yeah.
And then you look at today's stuff where I mean I'm more comparing, I guess, which is probably a bit inaccurate to do, but I'm more comparing like a festival versus like a drum and bass show or
Yeah.
something. But there's a lot of people that like if they don't know who even one of those acts are on the drum and bass lineup, like people just won't go. Or,
Yeah.
You know, they're not really interested in trying new stuff. Or,
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting how like society's changed in 10 years or
Yeah.
15 years. And
Well, it's probably like,
know?
I mean, yeah, no base for this at all, but it's probably an element, or maybe, I'll say maybe an element of, if I don't know who the artist is, then they clearly can't be worth seeing because
Yes,
otherwise I know who
yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's also the way that you find, like, you expand your sound and expand what you're into by listening to stuff that you may not have heard or
Yeah,
may
I
not
think-
be aware of.
yeah, it's interesting, man. I think a lot of people have this idea that, if you're good, you're going to be found and you're going to be global and like as an artist or whatever, you know, and but it's just not the case for a lot of people. And I, you know, I'll bring it up on this podcast, but I said it in the group in the Perth drum and bass
Yeah.
group thing a while ago. Like, started a giant debate about.
Yeah. I've seen you doing those. But I'm going to start some debate. Do a little essay in the chat. Yeah, yeah.
They were like, those were my intro to the podcast. Like,
Yeah, okay.
like, hey, I've got
Start some
some
public discourse about drum and bass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got some ideas. I want to get some
Yeah.
people's opinions. But yeah, there was one where I did where I posted in there about like finding music and does anyone actually like the music they listen to? And
Yep.
I don't know if you saw it or not, but it was
I
like,
think I remember the post, yeah.
and it was like, you know, you're listening to someone on the radio, and it's like coming back to this idea of if they're good, they must be popular, and they're going to make it onto the radio. They're going to make it onto, I don't know, whatever is big these days. So that, you know, so I think people just have this idea in their head that if this guy's playing on the radio, or if this guy's or girl is playing on Triple J or on this and that, then they must be great, and I've got to listen to it.
Yep.
But it's not often true.
Yeah.
It could be that they're bad.
Yeah.
And it could be that the best person you've never heard of is struggling on like a couple hundred plays. And, you know, so it's just interesting to me how people think.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's interesting with, if you think about how A&R used to work.
Yeah.
I suppose now I feel like artists need to bill up the labels to be like, here's my demo, can you release me? Whereas I think A&R used to be reversed. Whereas back when the labels had power, the labels were, or not power, but they had resources and stuff where they would be on the ground looking for the next big thing, or looking for a new artist and stuff. Like scouts, effectively. Yeah, like scouts.
Yo,
like,
that new
hey,
sound?
like, that was incredible. Like, you know, what are you making music and all that kind of stuff, and get interest that way, which was, you know, one way to do it. But now I suppose like it's because there is just so many people making music, and because it's so much easier to send it around and be heard and stuff, it can be quite difficult to maybe get your music where you want it to go.
Yeah, for sure.
But then, anyway.
No, I 100% agree, man. And I guess these days, like, you don't really need a label for anything.
No, you definitely don't. I mean, it can help. I mean, I definitely still would like... I've got aspirations. I've got aspirations as to who I want to release with.
Yeah.
And if I manage to release with them, I could probably be happy and just, like, hang up the headphones.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
okay,
genuinely.
cool. I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most people do. I definitely have giant goals of who I want to release with as a label, and I think for me it's probably similar to you. I don't know, but like for me it's like a progress thing. Like if I could ever release music with a specific label that I want to release with, like down the road, then I'll be like, oh, like I finally got my music to a level that I am looking for. Would that be the same with you, or like?
Yeah, I mean, because I suppose I've come to terms with. Oh, there's a few things about my music I've come to terms with. Yeah. But like, I think I, for example, have this belief, and maybe it's a limiting belief, but I have a belief that like I'm not gonna become like a household name in drum and bass. Yeah. So that's just something which I believe. And so if that's the case, then for me, the thing which I get the most value out of is if I release music, or I send music to someone, and it's someone that I respect. For their craft and the way they go about things, and then they appreciate the music and like it and or want to release it, or you get the promo feedback on a release and stuff, and then you see what people are saying about it, or you see that someone's played it in a set. That is the thing for me that I feel really happy with and get validation from. Only very recently have I had people, when I go to gigs and stuff, start to come up to me and be like, "Are you Manikin?" Which I'm like, that still bizarre because I'm like a no one. But that for me has been amazing.
You're killing it.
But I appreciate it, but I feel like a no one. But like, I think that is that's, for me, it's contextualized or provided me some context as to how I go about it. Because, I think, I'm definitely romanticized the idea of like, going and playing like, festivals like, Sun and Bass or Let It Roll and all that kind of stuff. Like, that would be fantastic. I don't think it's ever going to happen. But if I can somehow get some music onto a label that I've romanticized about for a long time, then that would be like the big tick for me. And then I can be like, cool, I've done that now. I've kind of achieved that goal. And then from there, I can just like be more relaxed about music. Because I still like get super anxious about music.
Oh, yeah. I'm saying I like definitely understand where you come from 100%. I feel like maybe the beginning of last year, I feel like I got to a similar spot in my mind about myself, my career in music, where I'm gonna take it, like where am I actually gonna go? Like you start it, and especially when you're young as well, you start and you're like, I'm gonna fucking be Skrillex, and I'm gonna be but then and then you get a bit limited with drum and bass as well because drum and bass is a bit more niche and but it was about a year. Oh no, yeah, beginning of last year sometime. I think it really hit me that I was like, okay, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna make it to that level either, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Or it took a while to be okay with that, I should
Yeah.
say. I'm pretty okay with it now. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at now. I'm happy to just try and just keep getting better.
Yeah.
And just do it for myself. And just I don't know. I think it's been a bit like I don't know, like kind of seems a bit sad or a bit like what's the word like I don't know. I guess putting a limit on yourself. I guess.
Yeah.
It seems like that, but I guess it's more just being a little bit realistic, but also I don't know, finding a bit more appreciation for myself.
Yeah.
Because I guess when you're making music and releasing it, you're looking for that kind of, is that good enough kind of thing? And is this, so I'm looking for that as well. And then I finally got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm kind of at a good spot and I like what I'm doing and I'm playing gigs and I'm having a good time, enjoying the scene and just trying to get better and better. And if something comes, then that's great.
Yeah.
And I'm still chasing, something, but I'm just trying not to be too over the top with the expectations and I think it hit me when I was talking to Reese, Dead Zodiac, at a gig that we had, and he was telling me he went to Europe a while back and he met some of his heroes in the scene, and they're living in their mom's basement and shit, and I was like. And it hit him, and he told me that, and I was like, fuck. Shit. And then I think it made me realize, fuck, there's actually quite a limit on this underground scene. Especially monetarily,
I think a lot of artists, you see a lot of it at the moment, talking to people, particularly in the UK, finding it really tough. If you're not one of the people that's actually getting your songs played on the radio and you're getting booked around the world to play large shows.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty hard to operate
it's
in the
crazy,
underground.
Man. I thought it would be the other way around. I thought UK is so big on drum and bass and obviously where it came from. And then that they would just be I don't know, just a lot more open to...
I think it's probably it's probably a sign of the time at the moment with just the cost of ticket prices and stuff. And ultimately, if you also are trying to do music full time, playing one set, whether it's one set a week or even one set a month, that would not be enough to live off.
Yeah.
And so that's why a lot of the artists now are trying to do things with Patreon and all those kinds of things,
and
trying to find other alternative ways of income or ghost producing and things like that. But ultimately, it's crazy. So some of the artists which I really admire, I know work full time, and I didn't know that, and I found when I'd find out about it, I was like. Yeah, so these guys, they're elite, but, the way that they go about it is actually just, making sure they're hustling whenever they do have free time to try and get that stuff out there and do things. But, ultimately, they're well, I've got family, I've got a kid, or, I've just got bills to pay. I need to be realistic, and so I'm going to work as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's... But I think, also, it's just, it's one part of your life and one part of your existence, and also contextualizing what you've got time to do needs to I suppose that for me, I'd need to use that as a reality check a lot of the time to be you've got only this amount of time. You also have a very demanding job. You're in a band. You're married, and Michelle and I spend a lot of time together, which is amazing. And so there's you got family.
Lot to balance.
So once you get all those things and you've got all these balls up in the air, it's okay, you've got maybe one day a week to make music.
Yeah.
And so then sitting down, so yesterday, I was in the studio yesterday and I'm doing a remix. I'm redoing a remix because I don't like the remix I did anymore. And the artist is where's the remix?
Yeah,
I'm yeah, it's coming, but I'm changing the whole song, which is not uncommon for me. Yeah. 3 months later, as you would have known, Firepower, I just will change the song
you have
all
a lot
the
of
time.
ideas.
I'll be
I think it's cool.
Here's the next version. It's completely fucking different. So anyway,
no,
but
it's
but
good.
Yes,
You got a big well of creativity that you pull from.
Yeah, but yesterday I like sat down at a full day in the studio, and I sat
Sweet.
down and I was like, okay, I need to do this. And so then I'm putting so much pressure on myself to get something done in a period of time. And then if I don't get it done, I then step away from that day and be like, that was an absolute failure. And then it becomes like a cycle where then like I start to procrastinate, not wanting to go in there. And then you're never in there.
Yeah.
But like, it's obviously a complete polar opposite of what you need to be doing to achieve the thing that I'm saying I want to do. So
it's that like a pressure paralysis that you get. Like you're like, oh, like you're feeling a bit of pressure, and then you're like, oh, I didn't do it that week.
Yeah.
And now it's been 3 weeks, and you know it builds up, and I get
100%.
I have the same thing, man, and like, I'll be lucky if I get like 1 day a week to work on some music, and some weeks I just don't have, like, even if I'm free that day, I just don't have the energy. I don't have the
because you do need to be. I mean, one thing I also tried to start doing was not putting pressure on myself to be creative. And so if I had a day available to be in the studio, but I didn't feel like being creative, I'd be like, all right, just like go find samples, or go like browse some samples, listen to some music, just like, or like just look through old projects and just listen to them, or whatever. And then also it'd be like, all right, well, how about I just like jump in this tune and just like clean up the stems. So just doing like mechanical stuff. So be like, well, I've done something that needed to be done.
So you feel a bit productive.
I wasn't forcing myself to try and make something, because the days you sit down and force yourself to be creative when you're not feeling that way, you'll just leave feeling worse than when you walked in.
No, sure.
But I think also with that, I can't remember who said this, but the concept that like you never feel bad after going for a run, or like you never feel bad after you've gone to the gym. Like you may not want to, but you won't feel bad after. You may feel like, oh man, I'm super tired and stuff, but you won't regret having done that exercise.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I think the same thing is like, even if you don't feel like going in the studio, you won't regret having done it if you look at it objectively, albeit you may walk out of there feeling like shit.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, I've definitely walked out of the studio. Sometimes I'm like, I've fucked that song up, like, you know. But
the worst thing ever is when
you
you spend, like, let's say you spend 2 days working on a tune, and then like you go back and listen to it a week later, and you're like, I have butchered this. Like you've cooked the mix, or you've done something really stupid, and then you just feel so bad about it. Everyone's gone through that.
I used to get really upset about that stuff, like not like butchering a song, but like even just starting something and I just can't get the ball rolling. Like on an idea, like I just keep trying new stuff and
well, you get stuck in. I mean, that's also a function of like the fact that electronic music is kind of made in loops. Like you'll get stuck on a loop. And then you can't get out of it. And you have to switch something. So a lot of the time when I'm doing that, I'll just be like, okay, I'm just going to focus on this track now.
Okay.
And also I'll put like a timer on my phone and be like, you're spending 10 minutes on this.
All right, cool.
And if you're not done in the 10 minutes, then like move on to something else, and like trying to keep things going that way. Otherwise, like you do just get like absolutely in a brain dead loop, and you feel like you're not going anywhere.
I don't like, personally, I don't get stuck with loops, but I do get stuck with trying to get the ball rolling and trying to get something like sitting on stuff until I'm like, oh, this loop that I have made is just sick. And I'm like, I can feel something is working, but sometimes it takes a while to get to that point. Like it could take like a day or two just to get to that, and then once I'm there, like the rest just kind of flows. But I used to struggle with it because I used to just get so angry with myself, like, oh, like I've been in the studio for like a whole day and I can't get anything right. Like, you know, the chords are shit and the bass line sucks and I can't get like a vibe. And then, but I kind of came to this realization at one point that it's all, which sounds cliche and stuff, but it's like, it's all just a part of the process. And eventually you crack it and you're like, I'm so happy with what I've made, but this would never get made or created if I didn't go through those 2 days before of shit.
100%. 100%. But I mean, that's probably like, it's been like, I mean, especially if you're a solo artist, huge anxiety, like firstly, trying to make something that you're proud of enough that you want to put it out in the world, which then in itself is such a huge step, because you're really exposing yourself then to everyone who's going to listen to it and what people might say about it, especially like, you know, gets thrown up on a YouTube channel and then you go through the comments and like there might be a bunch which are positive and then you'll find one comment. So I remember, like, I still vividly remember this comment. I did a tune with this dude from Romania called Subliminal,
Oh, yeah.
And
That was
called
a big
Harmonic
one.
Chambers.
That went on to
Yeah, that did
UKF
really
and
well.
stuff. Yeah, that was great.
I mean, like, yeah,
Yeah.
It's crazy because, like, yeah, it did well. And I'm looking at the UKF. Like, you shouldn't. Everyone always tells you, like,
No,
don't look
I
at the
read it
stuff.
all.
I
Yeah.
read it all. I'm not gonna not read it because, like, I'm just.
I think once
unfortunately
you
have
get sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
once you get to like a huge status where you're like, I don't know, the biggest name thing, and then you
Yeah.
get thousands and thousands of comments.
Yeah.
Don't read the comments.
Yeah, I just have
But-
I have a probably like a very unhealthy requirement for validation on this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
For me, external validation is more important than internal validation, and not just in music. It's just something I go
Yeah,
through.
yeah. Yeah, I
but
get it.
like, I'll look through comments, and I found this one comment, and it was criticizing the song because we were using a minor key.
Oh, right.
It was a real niche comment, and it was
Yeah,
like,
so, like-
it was this essay about why working in minor keys is crap, and any good songwriter won't write. They'll write if you want a sad vibe, you'll make a sad vibe out of a major key and all this kind of stuff. And I read it,
Right.
and I still remember it, and I was just like, it cut me
weird.
so deep.
Yeah.
And I was like, because for the fact that obviously this guy who like knew what he was talking about to an extent,
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
his
Like
mind-
once, if it's like someone
Yeah.
who doesn't know what's going
Yeah.
on, you're like, screw
Yeah.
that guy.
Like
He
if it's
knows
a comment's
what's
like, "Where's the drop?" I'd be like, "Well, fine,
Yeah.
whatever. That's
Yeah.
for you." But like, yeah, I so yeah.
going on.
Anyway.
This guy obviously has a bit
I don't
of
know why we got
music
onto that.
theory behind him, but
Yeah, I can't remember why we got onto that.
no, that's all right. But
yeah,
no, it's interesting, man. I definitely read everything as well. I think I've only ever had like one or two bad comments on some of my stuff, like, but I've never like UKF. You're gonna get a lot of comments, so
Yeah.
that makes sense. But I'm not getting too much like onto big platforms where where I'm gonna be expecting a lot of comments, but
yeah,
but I've had ones where I've had like premieres on Forbidden Frequencies, and
Yep.
one guy was like, and this is the only one I remember, but I think it was the only one that.
but you only
was
remember the bad ones, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
But and he just said, I just don't get this guy's style, and I was like, ugh.
Well, then it's probably not for them. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
That's,
So you just
that's
gotta-
a deep cut though, because like
Yeah.
you'll hear that and you'll be like, "Oh, my style sucks."
Yeah. But no, you
devastating.
just, I don't know.
What's my
I've got,
identity as an artist? Like,
Yeah.
man,
I got tough skin, so I just,
good. Oh, that would
I'd
break.
take
That would
it.
break me. That's the kind of thing where like I'd go find Michelle and be like, "This person said this thing."
Yeah.
She'd be like, "Why are you
I
listening to them?"
just-
I'd be like, "I can't not listen to it."
I think I'm my worst critic, which is another cliche thing.
Yeah.
I think I say the worst things about my own
Yeah.
shit to myself, and it's but I feel like I wasn't a musician when I was a kid, so I didn't learn
Yeah.
music theory, and when I was young, like I had to learn it by myself as I got into production and everything, and I did courses online and stuff, and trying to figure it all out.
That can be a limitation and a superpower.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
if
yeah.
you don't
for
have
sure.
training, it can also be a superpower in music.
Yeah. So you kind of, like I wish I did some type of classical training or something when I was younger, just to get a bigger understanding of music theory.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it can help you because what you have learned from like these online courses about music theory and pianos and all stuff, like you, I guess, don't learn about all the rules that people
Yeah.
try not to break.
There's no
and-
rules. You just go for it.
yeah. So, but I kind of like, I guess, am happy with myself in the sense that I am very good at taking criticism about stuff. And because when I started with music, it was so bad, and like not even like, yeah, it was just so bad, like off key, off everything. And I remember sending my first like demo to like a label in America, and it was like I was trying to be like a Dead Mouse kind of
Yeah.
style, and I sent it to like this house label over there, and they just replied like, learn music theory. And I just went, what?
Oh,
I think I
no.
was like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what is music theory? And I legit had to like figure it out, and and it hurt, it
That
cut
would
me.
hurt. That would
but
hurt.
but it's like it, you need it sometimes to grow a bit.
Yeah.
But I guess at some point you've been doing it for so long, and you've been killing it, and like for yourself, like you've been killing it, and you're releasing with a lot of labels, and I guess you got to get to a point where you're like, okay, that guy might not have enjoyed that track, and he has his opinion on
Yeah.
the music theory of
Yeah.
it being a minor or whatever, but everyone has different opinions.
Yeah.
But I guess, yeah, at some point you just got to say, I guess that's, well, what I'm trying to say is at some point I got to a point where I was like, not everyone's going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And not everyone's going to see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But as long as I'm happy with that song when I
Yeah.
put it out,
Yeah.
then that's it.
Yeah.
You know, so I also like to get feedback on stuff. Like sometimes I'll send you stuff, sometimes I'll send everyone stuff, and I'll be like, "What do you think of this?" Like, you know, and a lot of the time I like to listen to feedback, but sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, I see where you come from, but I actually kind of like it like this.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, for sure. No, I agree. I mean, I love it when people send me music. It's one of the things I love doing with Radio World is just like encouraging people to send me tunes, and if it's something they're comfortable with me playing, I'll just throw it on the podcast. But I'm really bad at sending my stuff to people, and generally I'll only send music to people if I've written something recently, and then I'm like, I kind of just want to see what people think of the vibe.
Yeah.
But I'll generally only do it if I've had like 4 or 5 beers.
Okay, yeah.
So like, it's so funny. I'll be at the pub and I'll be like on my phone. Someone's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, just sending a tune to someone."
Yeah, I've been there. I feel like you have quite high expectations for yourself, like
very high. Yeah,
which
doesn't reflect itself in the music, but
no, dude, it does definitely. But that was something that I was like, I would say I learnt a lot from working with you.
Yeah, right.
Not in a bad way or anything.
Yeah,
but I learnt a lot, like, because I was able to see your like the quality that you strive for. In a song, and you know, like that release that we did together took a while to get to the end, and I also felt really bad because we got to the end of it and then I fucking lost the file, and then and then we restarted again, so yeah.
But isn't that how we then arrived at the final version?
Yeah.
So if you hadn't done that, we wouldn't have had the song we did.
No, exactly. You know, part of the process.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, no, but it was interesting to work with you and like just to see how you do stuff, and like your I guess level that you try to achieve was cool. It was good to and see like what you did with the drums and how you kind of. I feel like I learned a lot from that track.
Sick.
So
that's
thank
cool.
you.
No, that's all right. That's awesome. I'm glad.
Which is cool. Which is fun about collabs. Like I feel like you might take something away from doing a collab every time, and So.
I was thinking about collaborating on the drive here, because I was preemptively trying to think like, what am I going to get asked today? I've never really been on a podcast like this.
Yeah.
So maybe I should have answers prepared. But I was thinking about like collaborating, and I actually think one of the things I love about collaborating is first like you might learn things from someone else. Although most of the collabs I've done, probably other than with you, of course, have been with people based in Europe.
Yeah.
And so you're not like sitting down with them and seeing stuff. It's just like sending stuff back and forth and talking more about vibe rather than like maybe like technical things or structuring and stuff. One of the things I find is because for me time is a constraint.
Yeah.
I actually find that working with other people in terms of collaboration not only means that like you're kind of, I suppose, increasing your like group of people that you know within the scene, like you're kind of like doing
like
a networking. I suppose networking. That's a much better way to say it than what I did. So you're networking, you're learning things from other people, you're maybe getting exposure to different sounds and stuff you hadn't heard before, like in terms of vibe, like overall vibe and kind of making that work. But like ultimately I feel like it can also lead to more efficiency and output.
Oh yeah.
Because like for me to be able to work with someone else, like I find that sometimes things other than ours took such a long time, but things can happen pretty quickly. And I think that's a real positive of it. Whereas sometimes when you are working by yourself, you'll get bogged down on the thing because you'll be like, do I actually like this song? And it might take you so long to figure out whether you actually like it or not to then want to send it to someone. But with a collaboration, you're kind of constrained from that perspective because if the other person's pushing you to do it on a particular way, then like it just kind of goes that way. Like you kind of egg each other on in I suppose. So that's why I've really enjoyed it. And at the moment, I've got like, I think I've got a lot of collaborations currently underway at different stages.
Nice.
But I really enjoy it.
It's cool. I definitely enjoy the efficiency of it and like the productivity of doing collabs because it's like I like this idea, and then you send it to someone to work on, and then now I've got time to work on something else while
Yeah.
they do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
and it's cool.
Yeah.
It's I need to do more collabs. I think it was the year that I hit you up for that collab
Yeah.
was when I think that was like 2023 or something like
Yeah.
that. And I was like, I made like a goal of trying to collab with more
Yeah.
people, and I made quite a few, and I think I only released like 2. But
Yeah. Yeah, it always
I
happens.
can't remember why, but yeah, this stuff happened.
I remember that original version you sent of Firepower. Well, it wasn't called that back then, but like it was a completely different song. Like the drums were a lot more kind of flowy, and the bass was like more. It like had more of a
I can't even remember.
Yeah, it was just a different tune. It was like more like a kind of fast moving flow tune, whereas now it's just like kind of like sludgy and yeah. Anyway.
I do like collabs. I often get a bit like nervous whenever I do collabs with people, especially if I'm sitting with people.
Yeah.
Like in person, and I'm like, oh, like what if I look like shit in front of them? Like, but it works out. But I definitely prefer doing it like in your own time. And you're like, oh, it took me a month, but I got this piece done, and then I can send it back and stuff. So I enjoy it because it gives you your own space, but then it allows the other person to kind of add to what you've done and take it in a new direction, and it's been interesting because it's like it makes you think like, oh, I didn't even think of going that direction with this bass line and with this thing, and so it's cool. I've had a few where it's just gone completely opposite to the beginning track. I had one with Scullivan, which has still not happened. And he, I think I sent him a cool little vibe, and then it took like 6 months, and then he came back with. I was like, "This is a different song."
Yeah.
Like,
that is, I'm so guilty of that. And like, the guys I'm remixing at the moment, they're gonna get a bit of a shock when I send this version to her because it sounds nothing like the one that they thought was done, and I was gonna send a pre-master.
Right,
And then I was like, so about the pre-master, you're not gonna get that. You're gonna get something completely different. So
fair enough.
Is what it is.
Sometimes you gotta roll with it, and I guess accept, to leave it in someone's hands, and which I think is also something I've learned with collabs is like to just be a bit open and be like, you're working with someone now.
Yes,
it's not just you. You gotta let other people talk.
Yeah,
and,
agree.
So it's been good to learn a bit and like open up and humble yourself a bit.
Yeah,
and
100%. Yeah, I just. Because otherwise, you get stuck in your ways, and it's just good to just open up and just like see what other people are doing. Also, like open yourself up to, as you were saying before, like healthy criticism, and like you might be doing something a certain way, and someone will be like, "Oh, have you thought about doing it like this?" And you're like, "No, I hadn't." That's going to improve my workflow. So,
yeah, exactly. And it's been I really like and I hate kind of saying this because I feel like it's a bit like braggy, but I enjoy that I like the idea that I've taken music up in life because I feel like it's given me a lot of opportunities to be criticized and learn from and humble myself a bit to get better and stuff. Yeah. Because then I feel like I've taken that into life in a lot of areas. But I've only kind of noticed it when I've seen other people who like, I think maybe especially in music where I've given feedback to other people and they just can't handle the feedback. Yeah. And I'm like, oh shit. I've had people go off of me for sending like a demo to Sub Era. Yeah. And I'm like,
yeah. I mean, so through Radio World, people are sending me a lot of different stuff. All of it's sick. Like, and like, I've obviously got certain tastes that I have, but I gotta listen to stuff and be like, it might be like, some people have sent me like tear out or like dance floor stuff. I'm like, well, I'll like respond up like, this is probably not appropriate for the podcast, but like this is sick, and like here are some of my thoughts on this tune. Like send it back to me, and like so I've started to like have like dialogue with people around stuff that they're making and just sort of giving them thoughts, and then they might finish it and I'll be like, oh, like what do you want to do with it? Like what are you gonna do? Like and then try to give them guidance as to where they might send it. Like I'm like, cool. I know this label that's based in Sydney. They do a lot of different things, lots of different vibes. Like maybe you could send it to them. So just like try to like, it's like not coaching, but just like give them ideas. Because I think a lot of the time also like, and like that's a whole separate conversation. But like, I feel like because Perth drum and bass is so dance floor focused that if you are making tunes that are not necessarily fitting that dance floor mold, you might have no idea what to do with them, and you may not be aware of the
That's a good
labels in the
point.
UK or in Europe. I certainly
Yeah.
wasn't. And so like the sound that I've got now,
Yeah.
you can my old stuff, like I saw an artist post about this on their Instagram story yesterday about saying how they like listen to their old stuff and kind of like cringe a bit. I cringe hard at my old stuff
Oh, yeah.
for a range of reasons. But like the sound that I've got now, probably over the last like I don't know like 18 months, and like bits and pieces throughout, but like it took me a while to get there because like I just wasn't really familiar with a lot of the sound that was going on overseas in this deeper end of the space. I certainly wasn't aware of what was going on in Perth in the underground drum and bass scene.
Okay.
And so I was, because all my mates are in the drum and bass scene before I met guys like you and Nick and stuff, were all like in dance floor drum and bass.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what
Like
you mean.
Echo and Sidetrack, and like I met Carl, and like all those guys are making dance floor stuff.
Yeah.
So that's all I was listening to.
Right.
And so I was making a brand of music that was like not dance floor, but it certainly wasn't minimal. It was just this like weird thing
So you
in the
didn't know
middle.
where you kind of fit. Or,
Yeah, and so like I'd structure my songs as if they were dance floor songs and all this kind of stuff. And so I go back and listen to it now. I'm like, it sounds really confused.
Right.
But now I feel like I know what I'm doing a lot
Yeah.
more.
I get
But
you.
when I hear people making the stuff that's like in the deeper end of the spectrum, but they have no idea what to do with it. And so I'm like, oh, well, why don't you come down to a Sub Era night or come down to Swerve night and like have a chat and we can just talk about music. And there was a guy that came down to the Swerve gig on the weekend because I told him to, just this young guy. Yeah. And so he came and talked with me and Nick, and he's getting into minimal but doesn't really know where to go and where to find this stuff. So yeah, just stuff like that. I think is like important. That's why I really want to just have people send me things so I can number one help them out if they want to get feedback on it and stuff, but also kind of give them direction as to if you want to release music like this, like where you can put it and what you can do.
Yeah, no, that's great. I feel like I've done that a lot. Whenever I decline something for Sub Era, I always, because I understand like it can be shit to get bad feedback.
Yeah, of course.
And, it's happened to me many times, so I know how it works. But I try to go very softly and be like, this is really cool, like compliment sandwich type of thing. Be like, oh, it's really good, but I think you can fix these things, and I give like really specific feedback on stuff so that they know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But then also try and recommend like what you're saying to like, I think this is really cool, but not my style, but this would fit well on this label. Try that.
Yeah.
But it is interesting how some people react to that. I've had someone go offer me as a reply on the email, like "fuck you" and all this kind of stuff, just because I didn't like their track.
Yeah,
and I was like, "Jeez."
Yeah, nah, that sucks.
So it's interesting.
Yeah.
A big question on my mind.
Okay.
And I feel like it's similar to what we've been talking about. We're talking a bit about like, you know, I guess expectations and stuff, and where we're going to go with your music career and so on. And I'm curious because you work outside of music as well. Like you have like a day job.
Yeah.
Have you? And I'm asking this because this has been something I've been kind of struggling with. So I'm curious. Is it just me, or is this?
It's definitely not just you. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely not just you.
I guess the question or the topic is, how do you value success, or your own success, or how do you value, or what do you see success as with yourself? I don't know if that even makes sense, but like,
how do I measure success?
Yeah, how do you measure success with your music yourself? And then, do you find? I don't know, I guess, do you find people in your life, like not in music, but family, whoever, do you find that they don't understand or appreciate what you do in music at all?
Maybe answering the second part of that first, I suppose I'm very lucky. So Michelle was very like she's hugely supportive, like number one fan. Which is super sweet and amazing to have around. Have that constant like kind of reinforcement, like just keep going, doing well. As is she. My parents obviously very musical.
Yeah.
They're in like I don't really push Manikin that hard, so a lot of the time they don't even know what's going on.
Cool.
I'm sure they would love to, and like they would literally come to gigs.
Yeah, cool.
So like
that's awesome.
There's one time actually where I was playing a show at the Court, it's just, I don't know if you were at this show. I think it was, I can't remember if it was a Ram showcase or something like that. But the Eagles, the West Coast Eagles, had just won the premiership.
Yeah.
So I made visuals of Dom Sheed kicking the goal, like the grand final winning goal from the boundary.
Yeah.
And I had it on a loop.
Right.
And so for my whole set, it was just that. And every time, it was so funny. It was like, obviously no one knew who the fuck Manikin was, but like, because I had like, it was so obnoxious. So I had that on a loop, and I had my logo Manikin in flames, like appear over the top of it, like every couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And but every time Dom Sheed would kick the goal, everyone would cheer.
Oh, so it was live while you were playing?
No.
Oh, no.
It was with a replay.
Oh, okay.
This is like months later after the grand final.
Right.
It was one of those 6 shows where like it starts at like 4 p.m. and goes till 10, and like the sun's coming down and stuff. And I was playing. I can't remember who else was playing.
Drum and bass gig?
Drum and bass gig. The promoter was not happy about my visuals.
Right.
But anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, my parents were at that show, and it was just so funny because like they thought that everyone was cheering for me, and I was like, no. It was just because every time Dom Sheed kicked the goal, the crowd was just like, yeah.
That's such a great way to like hack the crowd.
It was pretty fun. It was super funny. I think next time I do take the piss visuals, it'll definitely just be like a compilation of like Damien Martin cover drives or something, or like Ricky Ponting hook shots. Anyway, sorry, digress.
No, all good.
So I think on the family side, I think they kind of appreciate it and like are supportive of it. I think early on, when I was like wanting to do music, I'd like left uni. At the time it was bands. I didn't get into electronic music until way later. But I remember being like, I want to do band full time. And they were like, probably go to uni first. And then that led me down the path of going and working where I did and stuff before I kind of made a shift into music. But in terms of friends, also all of my close mates have somehow been involved in like hardcore music in the past. So they're all in and around music and stuff and understand it, but they probably understand drum and bass a lot less. So
I've got a lot of friends that just don't understand drum and bass at all.
But I mean, what you find is like there are a lot of people in drum and bass that are into hardcore and metal and stuff. It's a bit of crossover.
For sure.
By my mates and maybe a little less, but a lot of them are into like electronic music. Some of my tightest mates are, and so they definitely appreciate what I'm doing.
Cool.
When I released You Say You Don't, one of my mates made like he just was like, oh, I've made like a house version of it. And I was like, oh, sick. No, it's pretty cool. So one of my tightest mates is like a DJ, and he does gigs around the place, like house stuff. So yeah, like sweet. I think I'm lucky that everyone kind of can appreciate what I'm doing.
No, it's cool.
But one thing I don't do is talk about music, whether it's band or Manikin, at work. I just have no interest in people at work knowing about it.
And that is one of the things I also had on my mind was it's good. I mean, it's good. Firstly, just to reply, like it's good that you have like a good circle around you and of people that are supportive and stuff. Like that's really cool. And with your wife and stuff as well. Like that's awesome. And then with work, like separating that lifestyle, that was one of the things that I struggle with a lot. Like whenever I get a job, because I've had a lot of jobs over the years. I don't really have like any career job. You know what I mean? Like something that I've studied or whatever. It was just whatever pays the bills. But I just I'm the same. I'm like, I don't want you to even know I'm a DJ.
Yeah, I don't. and like there's some people that somehow would find out.
Yeah, and they do eventually find out. I think.
It's funny. So one of my colleagues is mates with Jace, like Substance, from way back. And obviously like follows him on Facebook or something. And he came up to me like, so this is like my colleague, and he came up to me like was like real water cooler chat, and just like under his breath kind of thing. He's like, are you drum bass DJ?
It's like, you've got to keep this hush.
Yeah, but drum bass.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I've got to come down and watch you play. And I was like, I'd be fine with you watching. And I just said to him, I was like, can you please like not tell anyone? Because like, I just don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know why. I think it would probably be better if I told people and then they can tell their friends and hopefully there's a couple of people that like it. But like, I don't know. I just really want to separate it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the reason why I separate, I don't know if it's the same for you, but I think a lot of that separation in those like workplaces to that is probably a bit of like an insecurity type of thing where I'm like, I don't really want them to know that, like, I'm working a job and I'm doing music, because then it seems like, because I think to the normal, and this comes back to success, to a normal person who doesn't do music, who doesn't follow a dream of any kind, that just does 9 to 5 and goes home and comes back. I feel like it's weird to people if you follow something that doesn't make money. And that's where the success question comes from. Is when it comes to jobs, when it comes to like currently I'm studying at TAFE. When it comes to stuff like that, like I don't tell anyone, and and even when it comes to like family and like, you know, like parent-in-laws and stuff, where it's like it kind of just seems like people are expecting that if you're putting time and effort into something, there better be a huge payout from it.
Well, that I suppose goes earlier to like how I was saying, like I wanted to do music, and then like it was
with your
like,
parents.
well, how are you going to make money out of music kind of thing? So I ended up going to uni, studying. I was at uni for 6 years. And then moved to Melbourne, started a job. It was an incredibly demanding job, which I suppose through having done the degree. So I did finance and law. My first job out of uni was in investment banking.
Oh, right.
It's like complete polar opposite of subculture underground music. So I was over there doing investment banking, and it was a really hectic experience. I'm like, my sister lived in Melbourne, but I didn't really get to see her that much because you work 7 days a week, 80 to 100 hours a week, no joke. You're just constantly working. And so I found no time for music. So that whole time I was in Melbourne, I had my studio monitors there, but I didn't do anything at all. And then I think there was a point in time then when I left that job and moved back to Perth, and I was like, okay, I've probably got 6 months of savings. I'm just going to see if I can do music and see what happens. But again, it came back to that thing of putting so much pressure on myself to then be like, you've got 6 months to become famous.
Exactly.
You got 6 months to get an album signed to, some big label in the UK or whatever it is. And so that didn't work. And I ended up putting myself on. I put myself under so much pressure, then try and get something done quickly. And that didn't happen. So yeah, for me, it was I suppose, but doing that and going through a period of a brief period of unemployment, there were certainly some eyebrows raised from family members and stuff being well, what are you doing next? This is just a, man, this is a fate,
I get it.
Yeah.
I've never gone, well, I have gone full music, but full-time music thing, but I was able to make music. I was able to make money through DJing pubs and stuff.
Yeah.
So I did that for 7 years or something.
Did you?
Yeah.
In Perth?
Yeah.
Wild. I did not know you were doing that.
Yeah. So timeline. I started Sub Filla and Sub Era and I officially went hardcore in the drum bass push side of things in late 2019.
Yep.
And we are now. But before that, I probably did about 5 years of just pub.
Oh wow! I did not know that.
Brass Monkey and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I was a resident.
Upstairs Brass Monkey.
I was downstairs and upstairs, depending. I was a resident there for 3 years.
Oh really?
And
wild.
So I was playing all kinds of shit.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was my income for 7 years.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was great. Good income.
Yeah.
Because you get paid quite well for an hourly rate, but. That lifestyle eventually catches up when I was playing 3 or 4 gigs a week, and
they're long slots as well.
Yeah, 5 hour slots each. And so what that meant was, well, you're awake till 2 a.m. minimum every night.
Yeah.
You're drinking almost every night.
Yeah.
Because you're getting free drinks and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
So it takes quite a toll, and I eventually just got really angry with the stuff I was playing, because I was I don't like any of this music, and I've got to play fucking this R&B shit, and I've got to play Justin Bieber and all this stuff, and it just used to piss me off so much. And so eventually I got to a point probably 2022 where I was I'm stopping that, because it's not why I got into it in the first place, but it just made me so angry because all I wanted to do was play the stuff I wanted to play, which was drum bass and whatever. And so yeah, trying to think like what we were talking about.
I think we were talking about
Something about
success.
Success, but yeah. So I think yeah. I mean, in terms of success, like when I was doing that, people understood it, and then as soon as I went like, no, I started studying and I'm doing music, and that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So I felt like things changed with people around me and stuff,
Yeah.
and I just I don't know, it got interesting, and it kind of upsets me a bit, like how the world values stuff, like.
Well, I mean, there's huge. I mean, like, there was a lot of it, I suppose, around COVID and lockdowns and stuff about like how people who were in the creative spaces felt like they weren't getting looked after.
Oh yeah.
And I was really lucky
that screwed me up.
Yeah,
big
I was
time,
really lucky that like the job I was working, I was able to work from home and
right.
continued working through the lockdown.
Nice.
So it didn't impact me as much. But like I had a lot of friends who do still do full-time music and stuff. Didn't realize you were at the time, but like.
Yep.
Who found that a huge struggle, and then I just like had this, I suppose, stigma of going like there's a societal undervalue, societal.
I get
Societal undervalue. I don't, that's terrible wording, but like
not valuing
it's
music.
not valuing it
Yeah.
and not bringing, like I suppose, not going like they're bringing a service and like they're
Yeah.
doing good in the community, and not just
Exactly.
musicians, but
Exactly.
like all kinds of art.
Yeah.
And
100%.
so I definitely understand what you're saying. I suppose I've been lucky in that all of the people that I'm involved with, pretty much, other than like colleagues at work, largely outside work and family and stuff, have all understand music and art and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
There are certainly factions of them that wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
But
I get what you're saying. Yeah, and it's interesting to me. I've had people not lately, but like I would say in the last year or so or something, where like for example, like I'm studying, right? I'm studying a new thing because I wanted to obviously get like a job, like a day job where I'm not just doing like just a shitty 9 to 5 that is just paying the bills.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done. Like basically I stopped the DJing and then I did the 9 to 5. And I did, before DJing, I did 9 to 5 for a long time, like just retail and whatever.
Yeah.
And just getting whatever. And then I stopped the DJing and I was like, okay, let's go back to like a normal job and it was good, like nice stability, you know what I mean? Like financially and stuff.
Yeah.
But just draining, and then I was like, I need to try and find something that I can do as a daily job, but still have some type of curiosity and passion and something in like So I've been studying like architectural design stuff.
Oh, cool.
So it's more like on the design side of things,
Yeah.
which is cool because it's still creative in a sense. So I like that, but what I've found, like since starting that, is people be like, "Oh, it's so good that you're finally."
Oh yeah. You're finally getting your head screwed on or something.
Yeah,
Like,
and
I feel like it's been screwed pretty tightly on. Just doing something maybe you don't quite understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I've had people be like, "Oh, I'm proud of you for that. That's really hard." And I'm like, I'll tell you what's really hard.
Yeah.
This music shit is really hard.
Like it's certainly not the same because I was never doing music full time in that sense. But like a lot of people, there's one, like, there's a few people at work, like, again, it's like real water cooler stuff. You like stand there, fill out your water bottle. You like my like 2-liter Yeti thing.
Yeah,
someone walk over and be like, "Are you still doing that DJ thing?" I'm
yeah.
And I'm just a lot of the time like, "Oh yeah, sometimes." Like I just like blow it off because I'm like, I can't be bothered like dealing with this.
That's kind of why I separated from those work things as well.
Because I work part time, right? I work 4 days a week.
Cool. Yeah,
so I can have one day to try and do music. Doesn't always work out like that.
Yeah.
But like, people be like, "Oh, you planning on coming back to full time anytime soon? Like, you're gonna, you're still doing that music thing or whatever. Are you still off playing with your friends? Like,
Yeah.
Like
you gotta grow up, man.
Yeah, it's like they think I'm playing, like, with the band stuff, it's like they think I'm just going and playing like like Guitar Hero or something with my mates in like a basement. It's like, no, we're trying to do something and be creative and do something positive with our lives, which is not necessarily netting, to your point, it's not netting a financial benefit necessarily, but really positive for us. And also, being creative, expressing yourself, it's a kind of meditation, like there's all those sort of things, like there's a lot of positives that come from it.
For sure.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think a lot of people definitely don't understand it.
No, for
Yeah.
sure.
But also at the same time have no appreciation for like the music they listen to. You're like,
exactly.
someone else has done the thing.
Yeah.
So,
And
like-
that was one of the arguments I put up on one of my socials once, and I was like, it's so weird that people don't value music, but they use it all day, every day
Yeah.
to get by in their
Yeah.
shitty job and go to the concert, and they you know,
Yeah.
it's like it's a big part of life.
Yeah.
But people only tend to value you doing it if you make money. That's what I've found.
But I think it's more than like, so okay, like if you think I also like really like sport and all that kind of stuff and
Yeah.
fully get into it. But if you think like a lot of people who probably don't, I'm making a huge generalization, but for the purpose of conversation, let's just go.
Yeah,
with
go
it.
for it.
So let's say you've got like someone who's like fully into sport, loves
Yeah.
AFL or
Yeah.
loves the football, like the world game, cricket, whatever it is. They might play it on the weekends, right? So they're going down to the club 3 days a week to practice, have a beer with their colleagues afterwards, and then they play a game on the weekend. Like if it's cricket, it's going all bloody day Saturday, maybe
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday.
Hectic.
Go and play footy, all that kind of stuff. They'll go to watch it, all those kinds of things. So that's
Yeah.
their subculture, like
Yeah.
if you can call sport a subculture, but that's their
I get you,
subculture,
yeah.
right? So they're investing all of their time into that. Whereas there are some people who may not have no interest in sport,
Yeah.
but they're really interested in a particular kind of music. And so it's like, well, I'm really interested in this. And so my subculture is this. And I think making music and contributing to that subculture or just DJing or just showing up and going to the show and shaking someone's hand or like going and saying hi
Yeah.
is so important about building that particular community to the point where then like you're introducing other people and someone's had a really bad day or a really shit week at work and then they can go to the show, go to the Sub Era show
Yeah.
or go to the Swerve show
Yeah.
and like see someone from either international or just a really sick local lineup and that might make them feel really good. Like that is like worth spending time doing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's no
Exactly.
financial benefit, but that person who's playing like 5th grade in cricket on a Saturday for like some whoop whoop team, they're not making money out of that.
Yeah, that's a
But
very
they're
good
still
point.
spending
Yeah.
a lot of time doing it, hanging around the sports club, doing all those
Yeah.
things. They're like, it's about community. Like this
Yeah.
is also about community.
Yeah, that's very true.
So I think
Yeah.
it's just the way that you look at it. Like what glasses
Yeah.
you're wearing when you're looking at it. But I think the stigma that probably electronic music has is people probably just go, oh, you know, just so you can go out and get on the terps on the weekend and stay out till 4 a.m. But like that's part of
Yeah.
the culture, but that's not what it's all about.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's
I
true.
think that's how kind of I look at it a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's a good
People don't
point.
understand it, but there are parallels with the way people apply and approach other subcultures they may understand.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never really thought about comparing it to other people's hobbies, I guess, like,
Yeah.
you know, what they do. And yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
I might take a quick break quickly so I
Yeah.
can go to the toilet. And
Yeah,
we'll
cool.
come back. We've got like 30 minutes left.
All right, sick.
If that's
Sounds
cool.
good. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of these questions that I ask people, like, these are questions that I ask myself, and I'm
Yeah.
just like curious what people think.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're all quite similar in a lot of ways and have similar thoughts and so on. So
Yeah.
and that's why I thought the podcast would be cool just to chat about real shit.
Yeah.
Like, not like, you know, how
Yeah.
did you make that bass?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I want to know
couldn't
about-
tell you because I never remember.
yeah. Yeah, my whole process with making stuff, like, just quickly, is like, yeah, like if people ask me how did I make any of this shit, I'm like, I couldn't tell you. It's all just experimenting until something works, and then it comes through, and you're happy with it, you know? Happy
Yeah,
accidents.
no, I genuinely like a lot of the time, and it actually really frustrates me because like if I like oh, it'd be cool if I could use that sound that I did in that tune and this tune, and
Again,
then like
yeah.
can't find it, and even if I find the project file, I'll then go and find how I did it, but then like it can never sound the same. And
Yeah.
So I pretty
Yeah, I
much
agree.
start from scratch every single tune.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah.
I had to, I think, one massive thing that really helped me with music production, and I guess trying to create a Sub Filla style or a sound or whatever, was when I started the Sub Filla stuff, I was pretty happy with where I was at that point. Like, I
Yeah.
would say between 2019 and now, I feel like I'm light years ahead of where I was then.
That's
in
awesome.
terms of production quality.
That's sick. Which yeah,
But-
I feel like definitely are. Some of the stuff that you sent me that's coming out on
Yeah.
that Euro label is sick.
Yeah. Thanks. And I've definitely progressed. So I'm very happy with that, and still trying to progress. But I made like a conscious decision when I started Sub Filla, because I've been producing for a long time before that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna stop using any preset unless it's like a violin.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, oh, I got.
Well, you're not going to record your own? That's
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come
You just gotta learn how to
You
play
gotta
violin.
go learn violin. Yeah.
Yeah,
Come
this
on,
is
man.
like an orchestral type of thing.
Yeah.
Then-
Yeah.
Yeah. But but in terms of like, oh, buy this sick preset pack and sound like your coolest fucking jump up DJ that you can find, and you know, like I just don't do it and I made a decision back then, like I'm not going to do it because I'll learn from it and it'll suck. But I already knew what I was doing, like in terms of synthesis and how to create sounds. But I was like, I'm going to push myself a bit to do that. So so every time I start a track, it's always like from the scratch, the bass and the sounds that I make are just sine waves and then distortion.
Yeah, that's sick.
And you know, just fucking with it and experimenting until something comes around. And and I feel like that was the biggest thing that helped me. Create my sound and understand what I'm doing more. And,
it's cool.
You know. Yeah. And I don't know how we got into that, but
you're like, I don't want to talk about this, and then we're like, so in terms of how I make bass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is not a podcast about that.
Yeah.
No, but I wanted to have a podcast where it was like more in depth about the people's lives. And talking about like the proper kind of, you know, things that people think about. And stuff like that.
What do you want to know?
Yeah. Do you struggle with? It doesn't always have to be a struggle, by the way. But do you struggle with?
It's a hard struggle.
So going back to work and stuff.
Yeah.
Not success, but work.
Yeah.
And music balance.
Yep.
Are you someone who can just separate that life and just go to work and have a good time and like just do that? Because for me, that's my biggest thing, and I think that's why I'm going for I'm studying something so that I can try and have a bit more passion behind what I'm doing. But I would like if I ever have a job, like I had a job where I was doing like truck delivery stuff, so I was just delivering items to people around Perth from this like metal company. Yeah. And it was cool because I could like drive and like all day just jam music and podcasts all day.
Sick.
And it was really dope. But I got really depressed because I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's no like purpose behind this.
Yeah.
So I struggle quite a lot to put myself in a place where I'm going to be at this building for 7 hours a day or 9 hours a day or whatever, and just do this thing that I absolutely hate for money. Yeah. Because I just feel like life, like we're here for a limited amount of time. Yeah. And no one knows what they're doing. Yeah. It's all, you know, and I wouldn't say, I research a lot and I listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of documentaries about physics and science and stuff, and I fucking love all that shit, like, and I have for a long time. So when I like listen to these things and I'm like, oh, we're all just fucking so small. Yeah. You know, it's like, why am I at this job 9 to 5?
Yeah, I've gone through periods where I certainly have been, where I landed on going part-time at work was kind of a balance of that, because I was like, you know, I don't feel like I'm really spending enough time doing music. And I find that feeling is most acute when I have been productive in the studio or made something recently that's given me a bit of like air beneath my wings, so to speak, because I'm like, oh, got this thing. And then all of a sudden there are all these other commitments that pop up. I start getting really shitty and negative. Yeah. That's then not helpful at home. Like, you know, that's not nice for Michelle to be around if I'm feeling crappy about it, because I'm like, I have to go to work today. I really would rather stay home and finish this all day when I'm at work. I'm like, I'm not quite there because I'm thinking about something else. So I landed on effectively coming to like an internal agreement, I suppose, where I was like compartmentalizing my time to go, when I'm at the office, I'm working. Yeah. And I find my job challenging and stuff. And I don't necessarily, it's not something I can see myself doing for the rest of my life, but I'm like, you know, the purpose is like paying bills and stuff. Yeah. And then the music thing is separate, but I can compartmentalize it so I'm not feeling so bad about not being in the studio when I'm at work. One thing I'd like to get better at is like having the energy and the commitment to try and do stuff in the evenings
Yeah.
But like,
That's tough.
it's tough. You come home from work, you
Yeah.
eat some dinner, you're on the couch maybe watching an episode or something. Like, you know, Cooter, our dog's like, he's a huge like 45 kilo bull Arab Mastiff
Yeah.
cross, like just sitting
Damn.
between us.
Yeah, yeah.
You're just like, getting
Yeah,
up to
man.
go in the studio right now would be really hard. Every now and then, like,
Mm.
I feel like it and I do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it has been difficult at times, but now I feel like I found this balance.
Yeah, cool.
But also just being not as hard on myself to be like, if I'm not in the studio doing stuff, like, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And also it should be fun. I should be enjoying it. I shouldn't be,
Mm.
hating it and stuff. So yeah, I think I've found a pretty good balance at the moment. Having said that, I would really like to be more productive and get some more
Yeah.
music out. Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, that's cool that you got 4 days a week. Like that's a good deal.
Yeah.
For your
I'm
job.
very lucky, and I
Yeah.
really appreciate the flexibility and people working give me.
I hope that because they were talking about that in, politics and news and
Yeah.
shit like over the last 2 years. Like they were a lot of people discussing should we do a 4 day week and I'm like do it.
Yeah, you're
like,
sick.
We all want to do that.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it would be so much better. Like even taking music out of it. I think I'm not trying to get politically. I'm just push my agenda on anyone. But
I
just
feel like saying a 4-day week is not that political. It's just
Yeah,
it would just
that's
be good.
true.
It would be cool.
no for sure.
Yeah.
I just think
it's
like
great. It just takes the sting out of the work week.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. I feel like it's interesting. I feel like maybe I should look into that. Like try and find something that would accommodate
Well,
that.
I think about it like this: is like, so if I work a 4-day work week, my weeks are now 4-day work, 3 days. Let's call it
Party.
long weekend or whatever. Party.
Yeah.
But like in the context of like the percentage of your year, that's an
Yeah.
extra 52 days a year
Yeah,
where you
right.
can do something else. And like that's really meaningful. And so then you look at it and you're like, so, 4 days a week, 3 days off, like
Yeah.
you're nearly 50-50.
Yeah, that's great.
And when you
yeah.
think about it like that, I'm like, geez, it's actually really good. Like there's a lot, that's a lot of
That's
time.
awesome, man. Yeah. That's a good deal.
Yeah, I like it. I don't think I'll go back to full-time anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, I've been trying to tell my wife as well, like, go 4 days a week. Because she can, but she's like, she doesn't know if she wants to or not.
Yeah.
But I'm like that's what I'm saying. Like, even out of music, like, 4 days a week makes so much sense because it's like, yeah, I mean, what is life if you're just working?
Yeah.
And some people work 6 days a week and 7 days. It's like,
Yeah, I've done
man,
the 7-day week
chill.
thing. It's not my vibe.
Yeah.
No way.
I can understand, the drive behind some people that do it for sure.
Yeah.
But, I feel like, people just need a bit of time to enjoy life and get to know people around you a bit more.
Yeah. Great.
So yeah, it's been interesting for me, like trying to balance it all. And that I guess that's kind of where, as well, like where that whole talk of being realistic about your expectations for music, putting that into perspective. I used to get really like critical about it all and be like, okay, I used to have this like timer and I had to get rid of this mindset because it was terrible and it just was sad and like depressing. And I think I kind of got rid of it when I started thinking about this thing that we were saying at the beginning, which was like, just getting to that point where you're just happy with doing it. And but I used to have this like unconscious, slightly conscious, like ticking clock in my head of I've only got a certain amount of years until I make it or don't. And that's breaking down into days and I'm spending 5 days a week working and so I got really, but I just had to be like, nah.
And I think that's like where like you like we kind of talked about this before, but like if you sort of have regular checkpoints where you're kind of like, well, what is my goal with this? And like I don't necessarily ascribe to being one of those people that is like everything has to be a goal and stuff. Although if someone was to talk to someone that knows me, like they'd probably think that I am that person.
Right. Okay.
But like, I suppose recalibrating like why am I doing this? What's the goal here? And all that kind of stuff can help you kind of like rationalize some of those like negative mindsets, I suppose. And that's like what I've gone through. And like now I'm just like, I just like got an idea as to like kind of the labels I want to try and release with, music that I want to make with people, the style of music I want to make. I feel quite clear about that now. Shows that I want to play. doing Radio World. So I'm like, if I just continue to do those things, wherever it takes me, will be perfect.
Fuck yeah, man.
And then, you know,
no, you're killing it, man.
See how it goes. Yeah,
killing it. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know. Like, do you ever? I guess a part of that, I guess, this whole kind of mindset thing is, like I often compare myself to people and people that I'm like trying to, you know, be like. But one thing I've had to learn over the last 2 years has been like, well, firstly, don't compare if you can. But I learnt a good technique from someone, and it was like, which sounds like a terrible thing. It sounds like a dickhead move, but it was, instead of comparing yourself to like people who are above you, compare yourself to people who are below you, or compare yourself to who you were like 5 years ago or something. Or, you know. So,
well, I think it's like trying to contextualize where you sit in the whatever landscape it is that you're kind of, I suppose, trying to place yourself within. And like, I think I probably do too much negative comparing. I'll be like, why does my song sound so shit next to that person's song, or all that kind of thing. But like, or like, why does no one follow me on Instagram? This person's got so many followers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But like, so aspiring to people as opposed to comparing.
Yes.
So like, you know, you can look at certain people like, I aspire to do what they are doing, and so you use it as a source of inspiration and drive to try and make yourself better.
Yeah, I like it.
But then I think being able to reflect on where you've come from and stuff, and be like, you know, like when I first released that first Manikin tune in 2017, which if I heard that if I heard someone play that now, I'd go over and ask them to politely turn it off. So like that kind of vibe. But like, you know, being able to look back at that and be like, I was there, I'm now here.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that I'm not done yet, like I should be proud of that progression. You know, the fact that I'm doing stuff like Radio World, and the fact that I'm, you know, releasing and music in labels that are based in the UK, and there are people over there who like, you know who I am and reach out to me and say that they like my music, or I can go to a show and someone will come up to me and say, your set that time or that release you did was like so sick, like, you know, all that kind of thing. Like, I didn't have that. Like, this is all stuff that's happened quite recently. And like, even though I'm like small fish, I still can look at it and be like, that is super special for me. And like, I really appreciate it. And like, I don't really know what to do with it when someone comes up and says something like that. I'm like, are you sure you feel that way? Like, it is about like, I think looking and comparing yourself to what you were before, and looking at that growth, like that journey you've been on, and that can be super positive and like make you feel better about yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely something I try to do. I definitely get in the slumps a bit, and I'm like, fuck, all right, I need to think about those tactics, and you know, go back and look at what
But
I've done in the
another
past.
thing that's really good is like, find an artist that you really like. Go and listen to the first song they released.
I've seen that. I've done that.
And then you're like, cool, all right.
Yeah.
And it just gives you some context. Like, you know, like your favorite artist did not sound like that from day one.
Yeah. I had to realize that as well. Like, you know, people I listen to, it's like, I'm trying to be like that. Like, I'm trying to get my quality up to that.
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh yeah, they've been doing this for like 15 years longer than I have.
Like, you need to contextualize that. Also, they might be in a position where they're able to do it full time or spend more time doing it. They also like, and ultimately, like, I think like there's a lot of people out there who just like, they just have the gift. Like, they just know what they're doing. Like, you know, like that's fine. Like, I can go back and sit down the day after I've just done a studio, like a whole session the day before, and I sit down, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, sometimes you just don't get it, but like other people just have the gift. And so, that's why it's like, I think comparing is a really negative way to do it. It's like aspiring and looking at what other people are doing and being inspired by it to try and be better, and, you know, try and achieve whatever your version of success is. And it's different for everyone. And
Yeah. No, for sure, man. And well, you know, it's, it seems like you're killing it, man. So, you know, just keep it up.
I feel like at the moment Manikin's in a really positive space. And so I'm hoping to do more with it. I think like the biggest thing for Manikin for me is like actually with like guys like you and Nick and stuff, trying to build up the underground scene in Perth. that's what I'm enjoying the most out of it at the moment. So
yeah, I think we have like a really good community in the underground scene.
Yeah.
Of people that are like yourself and Nick and Andrew and stuff that are all like-minded and on very similar kind of wavelengths. And and I feel it's positive to see everyone like doing it and like pushing each other, and so it's cool. I think we got a good little thing going.
Yeah, and like the show the other night, like all the support DJs were sick. Like Win, I hadn't seen her play in ages. Like she slayed it.
I want to get her on the
set
podcast.
Was amazing.
As well.
Get her on the podcast.
She's cool.
So I think like there are so many people out there who do like this sound and are trying to push it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like whatever I can do to make that scene, not better, it's already great, but like, just help build out that scene and get other people in and stuff is what I'm trying to do with the radio podcast, is what I'm trying to do with my music, and just like getting out and about. Like, I just want to kind of build that and just get that community like kind of larger and
man.
Yeah.
No,
So
I get it.
anyway,
and
but yeah,
it seems like
my music could do well at the same time, that'd be nice. But that's not necessarily the be all and end all.
Nah, it's doing it. You're doing it. You're killing it. And
Thank you.
I dig the Radio World stuff.
Thank you. Luckily, we're not really the same format, so we're not really competing. But
Yeah, I think that was. There's a few podcasts that have popped up, and I was like, I don't want to be like someone else's and try and take over someone else's space. I just wanted to chat to people and.
No, it's sick. Yeah, doing a great.
It's
job.
cool. I think it's been fun, man. Like getting to talk to you on a bit more of a deeper level, and Nick, and like getting to know people a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because like when we're, I don't know. You got life, and then you catch up at like a gig. You don't really get a lot of time to really chat.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I've been enjoying it, man, and I like this. I like this chat. I feel like, I feel like it was deep, and like we got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it.
Under the rug.
As I said, I had no idea what I was going to prepare for. I didn't have to talk about any of my favorite songs growing up or any of that kind of thing. So it was great. Thanks for getting me on. I really appreciate it,
man. Thanks for coming on. Is there any before we jump off? Is there any gigs you have coming up or anything you wanted to plug? Or
I'm playing at Roller, so that's Easter Thursday at Rosie. That'll be a cracking show. Roller's amazing every year.
What date's that? Because
I believe it's the 17th of April.
17th, sweet. Yeah, I'm keen
so
for that, man.
I would encourage everyone to get down to Roller. That's amazing every single year.
Sick.
And then I'm just working on a bunch of stuff. I've got a heap of labels who are very frustrated with me right now for not finishing music. A few people I'm collaborating with who are getting quite pissed off that I haven't finished songs and stuff. So I'm working on things and trying to finish it. And if all goes to plan, I should have double-digit tunes coming out over the next sort of 12 to 18 months.
Sick.
So that's what I'm planning to do.
Fuck yeah. I love it. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Anytime, man. We'll do it again in the future and catch up.
Get me back. Yeah, we can talk about compression.
Yeah. Alrighty. Thanks to everyone watching. Catch you guys later.